So the U.S. government is, barring some sort of last-minute giant save, going to shut down at midnight Tuesday, September 30th. The government will run out of money, and Congress will not approve future funding. This is, I think, a pretty interesting moment politically for the Democratic Party. And that's what I want to focus on today, because I think Donald Trump and Republicans think they're going to win this shutdown. They like the dynamic. They think that, that people will blame Democrats. And that's sort of who they are anyway, right? They're fine with the government being shut down for a few days, right? And Donald Trump has made massive cuts across the government thanks to DOGE and gotten rid of whole departments. So the government being shut down for a few days is not going to really impact Donald Trump, or even a few weeks. But it's the Democratic Party, right? The party of government, in theory, that I think is taking the bigger risk here. And I think I understand why, but I want to point out that this may not be the right fight to pick, even though they are clearly going to pick it and the government is going to shut down. All right. So if you remember back to the spring, March, Chuck Schumer took a lot of grief, let's call it, from liberals for, agreeing to keep the government open without extracting any major concessions from the Republican Party. I think Schumer's theory at the time was most of the talk was about tariffs, and that was a good thing for the Democratic Party, and he didn't want to throw something else in that might distract people from the bad things that the tariffs were doing. I get it strategically. It sort of backfired on him just in terms of the liberal base going crazy. So fast forward to now. It's very hard for me to see how Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the leader in the House, just pass a clean continuing resolution to keep the government open without extracting any concessions from the Trump administration or Republicans in Congress because of what happened in March. Their base is super pissed off. Their base wants them to fight all the time on all fronts, and particularly when they have some leverage. And the leverage here is that Republicans have 53 votes in the Senate. To get anything to a final vote in the Senate, you need 60 votes. That means 7 Democrats would have to vote with them. Democrats can withhold those votes. That's leverage. So I think it's probably inevitable that Democrats are not going to give in and just pass a clean CR anytime in the very near future, which leads to a government shutdown. But again, as I said, is this the right fight to pick? Remember, politics, at least winning politics, is about picking the right ground on which to fight. So there's two conflicting numbers. There's a new New York Times Siena national poll out today, and there's two conflicting numbers on it that I just want to note. So number one, the Times asked a very basic question. Who, if the government shuts down, who's more to blame for it? Democrats in Congress, 19%. Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress, 26%. So 7% more blaming Republicans and Trump. Both equally to blame, 33%. Not heard enough to offer an opinion, 21%. So on the merits, right, like on that number, it is slightly more likely that people will blame the Republicans who control the White House, the House, and the Senate than they will Democrats. Although I would note 1 in 3 people already blame both parties, and 1 in 5 people don't know enough yet to make an opinion, which means that their minds could be swayed. Okay. So on that number alone, you think, okay, like this is an okay gamble for Democrats to take. People are blaming Republicans more, marginally so, but still. But then there's this. This is the next question the Times asked. Should Democrats shut down the government if their demands are not met? Yes, 27%. No, 65%. Even among Democratic voters, 47% say they should shut down the government if their demands aren't met. 43% say they should not. Among independents, critical voters in an election, 32% of independents think Democrats should shut down the government if their demands are not met. 59% say they should not. So if this shutdown gets framed as Democrats took their ball and went home, that Democrats refused to keep the government open because they didn't get what they wanted, That could be a problem for the Democratic Party. Look, I get why they are taking the position they're taking. I get it. Given the relationship with the base of the party, they probably have to. At the same time, I think it is worth raising the question, is this the ground on which they want to fight? Donald Trump and Republicans are convinced, and I mean convinced, that they are going to win the blame game. Now, parties are always convinced of stuff, and they're not always right about it. But I would point at that number. Should Democrats shut down the government if their demands are not met? 27% say yes, 65% say no. That suggests to me that Democrats, are playing with a little bit of political fire here. It doesn't mean they can that they will definitely get burned by it. They may escape and be fine, but I would be slightly worried if I was a Democrat in a swing district about this and just how this redounds. Are we now talking about Democrats being irresponsible and not a governing party? Who knows? But those numbers would at least have me up a little bit at night. I'm not sure I'd stay up all night, but they'd have me up a little bit at night. So I think we are headed to a shutdown. We'll talk more about the politics of it, but I wanted to lay that out with some new fresh poll numbers this morning. As always, I ask you to do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button. You get free content like this every single day, and I continue to grow as an independent news creator. Thanks. Take care.